Transformers!
It's the heroic Dinobots, Snarl, Slag, and Grimlock. These massive monsters transform into mighty robots. They'll blast those Decepticons into extinction.
Transformers!
Transformers Generation 2. Dinobots each sold separately.
So that was specifically a commercial focus. It was the same commercial, but in this case it would focus a lot more on the Dinobots. Obviously, Dinobots are very significant. One thing I forgot to mention was that if you're curious about whether or not these are definitely different figures rather than them just like taking the same figure that they had from G1 and just like remodel and just like, you know, painting over a different color, it's definitely a new figure and it looks good. I actually like the size of it. It's not too bulky and it's not too thin either, and the material looks decent. It's not like the best material ever. I mean, the G1 figures had like good material. I believe like early G1 figures had some die cast with on them, especially the Dinobots definitely had some die cast. I remember being a thing, but these definitely have a little bit cheaper material, but still cool figures. And if you're a Dinobots fan, which I mean, hey, who doesn't like Grimlock? Who doesn't like any of them? So still cool. So yeah, awesome. I like that a lot. So let's keep going.
From across the galaxy to battle the evil Decepticons comes the ultimate Autobot hero, Optimus Prime. Transforming from big rig into powerful robot, he's the greatest Autobot warrior of them all. With a hidden battle platform, twin rocket launchers for double the damage, and a light and sound power pack for real battle action. And when Optimus talks, the Decepticons will run for cover.
Transformers!
Transformers Generation 2. Optimus Prime is all you see here.
Okay, so that was a commercial for Optimus Prime. Obviously a different figure than what we know him as, because they emphasize the whole entire trailer on the back of him. It's usually seen in his vehicle mode, having this ability to act as a platform and act as like having a cannon in the back and having all these extra features that normally we don't exist. Definitely something different, definitely something that if you're interested in having unique versions of Transformers characters, this is definitely one that you're gonna get and you're gonna say, this is not what I remember from Optimus. So if you like that kind of stuff, this is definitely for you, so look into this. But definitely something people could get interested in. I'm not necessarily huge on that kind of stuff. I think that it's a smart idea just overall because it's a different way to sell Optimus. And I mean, Optimus is like one of the biggest Transformers figures ever. I mean, everyone always loves Optimus Prime. Having the extra sound effects as well, that's nice. Having the darts that are able to be shot out from the cannon, that's cool. You know, having all that extra functionality helps and develops a lot more of use and play out of that toy, so pretty cool.
He's the ultimate Autobot hero, Optimus Prime. This big rig transforms to a powerful robot with twin rocket launchers and a light and sound power pack. And when Optimus talks, the Decepticons will run for cover. Optimus Prime is all you see here.
So that was the shortened version of the same commercial. Not much difference as a whole. If you like that commercial, it's cool. I would say, you know, there's not... That's typically what a lot of these commercials do, is that they typically have a version that's the full commercial that they show when the commercial first being promoted and it's very new, and then they have the shortened abridged version just in case, like, oh, this commercial's been going on like 50 bazillion times and now we need to make sure that if we have to, we'll have the shortened version available so that people get the commercial, but then we can move on to like 5 or 6 other commercials. So yeah, so that's what that really is. So that's all I can say. That's more or less what I'm going to tell you, because I mean, it's the same. So yeah.
From planet Cybertron come mysterious new color change Transformers, but are they friend or foe?
Only one way to find out. Decepticon!
It's color change Jetstorm, Drench, Deluge, and GoBots. Transform them from rad roadsters to awesome robots. Arm them with pump-action aqua blasters. Blast them with hot water to find out whose side they're on.
Show your true colors, Deluge! Decepticon!
Transformers!
Transformers Generation 2. Color change cars each sold separately.
Okay, so that was something that many people will remember from the G1 stuff, with the whole entire idea of like, oh, they're hiding their logos or whatever. So this was the color change Transformers. In the past, there was like the spy Transformers or whatever. In this case, it has a big emphasis in like using like the Autobots and Decepticons have like these little guns that shoot out water, that when you shoot the water, supposedly it reveals whatever the logo is. Obviously not a figure that you're gonna use for that's gonna be one that's gonna have the best quality ever if you're gonna use it and play with it that way. So it's not. So I guess you could say if you're a kid and you're playing with this, more likely than not, the shape that it's gonna be in isn't gonna be the best if you start using the water shooter. But if you're not caring at all and you're just like, you know what, I can just do whatever I want with it and not use that, then maybe you'll end up with a pretty good quality figure by the time that you're collecting back then. But it depends on what kind of collector you were or are, because I'm sure a lot of them ended up turning out poor quality due to the fact that they were that the water was shot out over time and the figures were coated with water, and more likely than not, a lot of kids probably just like completely drenched their figures with water from these figures, and they probably thought, oh, I'm gonna play with my figure, I'm gonna shoot that water at that figure even if it doesn't have the color change. So some people do that, and I'm sure that was a common thing back when this figure was released, due to the fact that they really were advertising a lot more water and shooting features because of what the show really had. So interesting though, but definitely something that collectors you have to be careful with, because the quality of what you're gonna have in the end isn't gonna be as nice as you would hope if you start to use the water functionality. So anyway, let's keep going, I think.
Are these new color change Transformers friend or foe?
Only one way to find out. Decepticon!
Color change Transformers transform from cool cars to awesome robots. Then you blast them with hot water to find out whose side they're on.
Decepticon!
Transformers Generation 2. Color change cars each sold separately.
So this was the same commercial, obviously shortened. This time I will say that I didn't notice this. Definitely something to make a note of is that they say hot water. So obviously cold water is going to be different. It's probably due to like how it gets removed from the liquid being sprayed on. One thing I will say about this also is the fact that the idea that you're shooting it from a figure also makes you wonder, how well does this aim, and what are the chances of this thing end up going just like down rather than actually shooting out properly? Because sometimes they don't aim very well. Sometimes you have to be so close, and they advertise them as though they can shoot from a distance, yet they really can't. So that's also obviously a concern to be very aware of when it comes to collecting those kind of figures. If you even go online and try to find one, I mean, I'm sure you can find them on certain sites. I'm not sure if they're available like on Amazon. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I personally, I'm not like, personally for me, these different variations of figures, I'm not against them, but I think that in some cases, the ones that have like those special functionality aren't always the best. And if you're a collector, which I am a collector of things like that, that would not be something I would be jumping out to get, just because of that extra functionality, just because of the idea that you would be tempted so much to use it in that way. And it's just like, you want to have fun, but it's like, if you're a collector, you want to have something that you could look at and say, this is worthwhile. And that personally isn't worth it to me. So let's keep going.